Welcome to Simple Wonders, where I help you simplify home education so you can work wonders in your home. I'm Jessica, a homeschooling mom of 4 boys, here to guide you through the first steps of starting your homeschool journey. In this series, you'll learn how to get started, what you actually need to homeschool, and you'll develop real teaching skills, even if you've never taught a day in your life. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. Let's get started. This is week 4, where I'm going to teach you how to make a daily and weekly schedule for your family to create a daily rhythm, and you're going to make a weekly schedule of all the subjects that you want to learn. I'm so excited because this is really where the planning starts. Now that you've kind of set the foundation for your family's rhythm, the logistics and housekeeping, all those things, now you can move on to the fun stuff where you're going to make your schedule and pick what you're going to learn about. Well, first, let's talk about the seasons. Think about spring and fall and winter and summer and how there's never really a day that it starts. It's kind of a slow shift. There's these cues in nature. It starts getting a little warmer. It doesn't freeze at night. You see blossoms in the trees or flowers, daffodils. You know that spring is on its way. Same with summer. You start to see a few leaves changing in the fall, and you know fall is coming, but it's not an exact event. This is a rhythm, and the same thing happens with our bodies. We kind of, when we hit puberty or even the female cycle, there's not an exact moment when this is going to happen, a time and a second. It's more of a gradual change. You have a rhythm going, and our bodies are really made for this rhythm, this slow or gradual process of changing from one thing to another. But we don't have a second or an alarm or an expiration date when this is going to happen. The same thing goes for your homeschool. You don't want an exact time that you are going to start math. At 9:25, we are studying math, and then we are going to study it until 9:45, and then we are going to have a 2-minute transition to history where we will study for another 20 minutes, and etc. Now, that might work for schools where things need to be very efficient and people need to know when they're going to pick up their kids. However, in a family, you need to make things more flexible. You need to make them more natural and organic. Otherwise, you're going to be stressed out. And I can tell you this from experience, trying to have a set timetable where we are going to be studying from this time to this time. We have 3-minute break, and then this happens. The reason being is family life, in case you haven't noticed, is not very exact. It is not regimented. And children don't always go with our plans and follow directions. Neither does your toddler or baby. What happens usually is someone can't find their book. The baby got into stuff and there's a big mess, or the baby needs to nurse. There's so many things that happen, or maybe someone has to go to the bathroom, or one of them feels sick. You need to go help get them some medicine. There are so many things in our lives that will cause disruptions. So my advice to you is, instead of creating a schedule where you have certain times that you have to start and end, instead just have a rhythm. We are going to have breakfast, then we are going to do our family gather, which consists of scriptures and singing a song, doing our recitation, and maybe today's nature study, so we're going to discuss nature study and what we've learned, or going on a walk, whatever it is. Then we are going to take a 20-minute break, and you're going to go out and play and get your wiggles out. Then we are going to start our individual learning time and then have a list of things to do. Now, you're going to notice in future episodes, I recommend having a certain time that you study a subject. So math for 20 minutes, or history for 25 minutes, and reading for 10. This is different than a schedule in that we do have a certain time period, and I have little visual timers that I give my children. However, it's very flexible, as in, okay, once we've done that, this is an approximate time, right? This just gives the kids a certain time to look forward to, like, I know it will be done at this time. Whereas it's 9:25, now we have to start this, and then we're going to be done with this at this certain time. Makes it way too structured, makes it way too rigid, and it's just not natural for our bodies to be that rigid and structured in our daily activities. So think about a daily rhythm. What do you want to begin first? What's going to cue the next thing? And then the next thing, and ideally be done by lunch. You can eat lunch, and then it's kind of a rest time, an unstructured playtime for your children to work on their own projects. And I have to tell you that my boys have friends over. They're playing games. It sounds like the board game is done and they're having some kind of battle. So you're going to hear a lot of yelling and battle-like sounds in the background. And that's what's happening. Everyone's okay. It's just boys being boys. So let's talk about floors and ceilings. One secret to getting school done every day and feeling like you were successful is to have a floor goal and a ceiling goal. Now I'm going to talk about habits in another video, but just know that consistency is key with developing habits, and learning every day is a habit we want to instill in our children and in ourselves. And that requires us to have some floor goals and some ceiling goals. And what I mean by this is your floor goal is going to be the absolute minimum, the bare essentials that we want to get done every day. And then the ceiling goal is everything's awesome. This is the top, the ideal. We're going to get everything done today because everyone's feeling well and we're in a good mood. Now, I would say majority of the time we get our ceiling goals done. I'm thinking like 60, 70% of the time we're getting everything done that we want to. But that other 20 or the other 30, 40%, we are doing our floor goals, just the absolute minimum every day. So for us, our floor goal is we are going to read one scripture. We are going to read a chapter from a book. So it could, whatever book is assigned that day. So it could be history or geography or science, but we're going to read from one chapter. And then we are going to pick a sentence from that chapter and write it down. And that's called copy work. For older kids, it would be dictation. We're going to do copy work or dictation from a sentence from that book. Now, it seems really simple because that's going to be our language arts for the day. Really simple, but copying down a sentence is so powerful. First of all, you're doing your handwriting. Second, you have to notice the punctuation, which I ask my kids, can you point to the period? Can you point to the comma, question mark, exclamation mark, whatever. And then I ask them to notice for any words that they think would be difficult to spell or were difficult to spell, or words they don't know, and we're going to look them up in the dictionary. Now I have to teach my kids how to use a dictionary, but having them look up words they don't know or are kind of shaky on, that's really important. They can write that down if you want, or they can just come and tell you, hey, this word, frigate, means a boat. Oh, cool. So that is what they do kind of for their language arts. They read a book and then they copy a sentence down. Then for math, I have them make up their own story problem from the topic that they're learning in math. So if they're learning multiplication, okay, create a story problem for me and write it on the board. Or they could write it in their math notebook and draw a picture of it if they're young. Or you could do 5 math problems. That's another one that I've done. If you don't feel like, making up 1 math problem is not enough, doing just 5 math questions, reviewing past math topics. If your child's in 6th grade, have them do a decimal, a multiplication, a fraction, and changing from imperial to metric. So just doing one of each of those is just, it doesn't seem like enough, but believe me, it is. So we have our floor and our ceiling goals. That has been revolutionary for my family because sometimes we don't feel like we can do school. If I notice today is one of those days, it's an off day, the toddler is teething, he's grumpy and wants me to hold him all the time, or he's in mischievous mood, or I have a teenager who's grumpy, if I have someone who's sick who needs me, all these things that can go wrong. I say we're doing our bare minimum today. Okay, everyone knows what their bare minimum is. You can write it down and have it hanging up, but our floor goal, all right guys, we're doing our floor goal today, and then everyone's going outside, or we're just gonna hang out and you guys can go play blocks, or if everyone's sick, we're gonna go watch a documentary, whatever it is. That is going to help you so much. And you may think, oh, I don't know if having, just doing the bare minimum, 30, 40% of the time is gonna be enough. I can tell you it is. It absolutely is. Doing small but simple things. My boys, again, we do 30 to 40% of our days are just the bare minimum. And we are required to do state testing. So every year, it's always rewarding to see my boys score above proficient. So they are scoring fairly far ahead of the average for all the kids in the state. So they are doing well. And we are just doing an hour of school a day on our bare minimum. So setting your floor and ceiling goals are an important part of having a successful school day and a school year. Now, the next thing is you need to figure out a weekly schedule. Now, I love that Charlotte Mason said that education should be a feast for the mind. Now, when you think of feast, you think of a Thanksgiving table where you have meat, a roast turkey, you have stuffing, you have vegetables, you maybe have a fruit salad, you have pies. There's so many different things for you to try and eat. And she said that education should be a feast for the mind. So lots of different delectable things for our mind to feast on. So you're going to want to not just do the 3 R's. It's going to starve our minds. If you said we are eating broccoli and rice and chicken every single day for every meal, you would get so sick of chicken, rice, and broccoli. And you would not be very motivated to eat every day. You would just be eating because you had to. And when we just do the 3 R's every day, that's kind of what we're doing to our children. They're not really looking forward to learning because there's no variety, there's no spice, there's no flavor. So you want to add in the history, the geography, the nature study, the science, the Shakespeare. And as I'm saying this, I know that some of you may be getting hives thinking about all those subjects that you need to teach. We don't do those every day. We do Shakespeare once a week. We do geography twice a week. We do history 3 times a week. We do science twice a week. We do nature study a couple times a week. We do our artist study once a week, and we do our composer study. And those are super simple. I'm going to talk to you later about how you can teach those subjects so simply that it's not going to be overwhelming. It does require some work on your part, but it's not going to be overwhelming. So you want to have a variety of subjects. Now, in the description box below, I have a guide for you to make your own schedule, your own weekly schedule. You can pick the subjects that you want to start with and then make your weekly schedule based on that. And it's also going to have the times that each child should be studying each subject. So you can make a family schedule, which will look like this. And you will have a child's schedule, which will look like this. So here is what they need to accomplish on Monday. Here's what they need to accomplish on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. And so I'm going to guide you through those, hold your hand, give you some resources so you can create that. Now, you may not want to try to do all of the things all starting out at once. I would recommend with doing math and language arts, and for younger kids, language arts can just be doing copy work and then maybe doing a phonics program. That's all you need to do. You don't need to do grammar and you don't need to do writing yet, just the copy work and phonics. Then doing some history and doing some science or nature study. Now, as you feel confident with those, add in more things. Now, again, I forgot to mention singing. You could sing a hymn or a folk song. Singing is so good for the brain. Please don't leave out singing. You can also do some art. So, and just so you know, I have videos on how to teach all these subjects. I have drawing, history, geography, nature study. I'm getting one done on music. So I have lots of resources for you if you don't know how to teach those. But I would just start out with a few simple ones. You know, the basics, reading or phonics and math and history and some nature study or science and then some singing. You can easily add in other things as you feel confident. So look in the description box below and you will find all the resources you're going to need for the homework assignment this week, which is you are going to make your own family schedule. So you're going to make your own family schedule. You can use mine, you can alter it to fit your own family's needs, then you're going to make a schedule for each of your children. Now, I did these on Affinity Publisher, and I like to make booklets and then my boys bind them on their own. Let's see if you can see this better. But you don't have to do this. You can simply get a 25-cent lined spiral notebook at the dollar store or Walmart, wherever you shop. And then you can just write in what they need to do each day at the beginning of the week. Or every night you can just write, okay, you need to do this math lesson, and draw a little circle next to it. Oh, those are dirty. As you can tell, these are used. Draw a little circle next to it and write what they need to do, which lesson, what they need to read for each day. And just start creating a schedule. Start planning which subjects you are going to learn. And that will prepare you for the next few weeks, where I'm going to talk to you about how to teach all of these different subjects, what to look for in a curriculum so you can choose the curriculum that you're going to use if you haven't already. But if you have chosen a curriculum already, don't fret. Don't go buy a new one. You can use in the next few weeks when I teach you some teaching tools, you can use those for any curriculum you have. But right now, just figure out which subjects you're going to be learning and create a schedule. And if you aren't already, subscribe and hit the notification button so you're notified when all these new videos come out. And you can also, again, check the description box below for those links to help you get all of this homework done. And I'll see you next week.